The airport staff are corrupt. Drug smuggling isn't a breach, it's business as usual, with Heathrow as the perfect cover. Forget shady alleys. The real trafficking happens behind airport curtains and VIP doors. If the insiders are the dealers, who's actually guarding the gates? The access that became a weapon. Joyce Jury wasn't just some random bloke in a high-vis jacket casually loading bags at Heathrow. No, he was a British Airways baggage handler with full airside clearance, the kind of access that most people only dream about or dread in a security context. This wasn't just about moving luggage. It was about having the power to drive across runways, step into lockdown baggage zones, and open containers that were supposed to be under the strictest control. And here's the dark truth. Joyce Jury abused this trusted access to smuggle drugs right under everyone's noses. He didn't play by the rules. He showed up at the airport when he wasn't scheduled, walked through security like he owned the place. The system's safeguards utterly failed because the corruption ran deep. His unrestricted access turned the airport, one of the most tightly monitored places in the world, into his personal drug smuggling playground. CCTV footage shows him swinging open containers, driving baggage tugs, and moving through restricted areas at will. The cocaine pipeline that operated like clockwork. This wasn't a sloppy drug run. It was a well-oiled smuggling operation. The cocaine started thousands of miles away in cities like Rio de Janeiro and Bogotá. The traffickers packed the drugs into normal-looking suitcases that slipped through security undetected. But the key was the insider help. They didn't rely on luck. Every suitcase was documented carefully. Photos, tag numbers, labels then sent to handlers in the UK via encrypted messages and BlackBerry Messenger. When the flights landed at Heathrow, corrupt staff like Joyce Jury already knew exactly which bags carried cocaine. They grabbed those suitcases and rerouted them to domestic arrivals, bypassing customs entirely. A web of trusted faces turned criminal operators. This wasn't just a couple of bad apples. Joyce Jury and Muhammad Ali ran the operation like bosses of the airport floor. The Jury had the baggage clearance. Ali had tarmac access. Together, they controlled the flow of drug shipments. Family ties ran the network too. Jury's brother-in-law, Priya Mongra, coordinated communications between the ground crew and the drug lords, making sure instructions flowed smoothly. This wasn't a random crime. These insiders weaponized their positions to smuggle drugs, exploiting the very system they were supposed to protect. Criminal genius, how the network outsmarted customs. Forget couriers with drugs taped to their bodies. This was professional smuggling. The suitcase came in on international flights, but the couriers flew separately on domestic routes, which bypassed customs entirely. The network exploited this perfect loophole. International customs checks on arrivals from Brazil or Colombia, but no checks on domestic flights from Manchester or Edinburgh. The entire system was carefully orchestrated. Same days, same flight times, even the same bag weights. Jury didn't log the containers he moved because he knew the routine perfectly. Heathrow trusted him, and he used that trust to tear the system apart. First slip-up. One bag that landed in the wrong place. The entire smuggling operation began to unravel because of one critical mistake. In 2015, a single suitcase originating from Rio de Janeiro appeared on a domestic carousel at Heathrow, a place reserved strictly for local luggage. This was a glaring breach of protocol that should never have happened under normal airport security measures. Border Force officers immediately recognized this as a serious red flag. The suitcase had bypassed the necessary customs inspections that every international bag must undergo. This blatant failure was a clear sign of insider involvement and a carefully orchestrated smuggling network operating within the airport. Instead of acting hastily, the National Crime Agency, NCA, decided to observe and gather detailed intelligence over time. Their patience paid off, as this single misplaced suitcase became the key to exposing a deeply rooted corruption ring. It revealed how trusted airport staff weaponized their insider access to smuggle illegal drugs right under the noses of security. That one wrongly placed bag was all it took to crack open the door and unravel the entire drug pipeline, demonstrating how fragile and vulnerable even the most secure systems can be when insiders betray their duty. Operation Precision: how the NCA took them all down. The National Crime Agency, NCA, conducted an extensive undercover operation, closely monitoring Joyce Jury and Muhammad Ali as they moved containers and suitcases through restricted airport zones on days they weren't even scheduled to work. Their unrestricted access allowed them to operate with total impunity. No alarms sounded, no resistance met, and no suspicion raised by airport security or management. This insider knowledge and freedom were critical to the smooth running of their drug smuggling ring. On December 14, 2016, the NCA seized a critical opportunity. Courier Felicia Kufur was caught attempting to pick up one of the cocaine-laden suitcases from the domestic arrivals carousel, a move that perfectly illustrated how the smugglers exploited airport procedures. Normally, international luggage undergoes strict customs checks, but by rerouting drugs through domestic arrivals, they bypassed these safeguards entirely. This successful interception sparked a coordinated raid that rippled across the UK, resulting in 13 arrests and a combined prison sentence totaling 139 years. What was most shocking wasn't just the scale of the operation, but that Heathrow's own trusted staff were at the center, orchestrating an international cocaine smuggling ring from inside one of the world's busiest airports. All it took was one misplaced suitcase slipping through the cracks of the system to expose the rotten core of insider corruption that had been undermining airport security for years. This case revealed how insider access could be weaponized to facilitate drug trafficking on a massive scale, shaking confidence in the very institutions charged with protecting the nation's borders. They did it again. The 2023 Bogotá case. In 2023, the smuggling scheme re-emerged, this time even more audacious and brazen than before. A new insider, Jund Dar, who worked as a security manager at Heathrow, exploited his high-level clearance to bypass standard protocols. Dar showed up hours before his shift, dressed in full uniform, gaining access to secure airport vehicles and restricted areas with ease privileges only trusted staff possess. The drugs, this time coming from Colombia, were hidden inside luggage intended for Heathrow. But Colombian authorities had already intercepted the shipment before departure. Instead of simply seizing the cocaine, they replaced it with expertly crafted wooden blocks that perfectly matched the weight, size, and feel of the original packages. This clever substitution was part of a calculated plan to trap the smugglers once the shipment reached the UK. When Dar attempted to move the luggage, believing he was handling real drugs, UK authorities were ready. They arrested him immediately, foiling the operation on British soil. This arrest wasn't an isolated incident. It triggered a broader crackdown, leading to more arrests across the UK. The network that was thought to have been dismantled years earlier had resurfaced, demonstrating both the persistence of the drug ring and the dangerous ongoing corruption within airport staff. This case highlights a chilling truth. The very people entrusted with airport security are the ones exploiting their positions to smuggle drugs, weaponizing their insider access to undermine the system. The airport, meant to be a fortress of safety, becomes a smuggling hub when corrupt staff manipulate their access for criminal gain. The final reckoning: justice served or just scratching the surface? The sentences handed down were severe and meant to send a clear message. Joyce Jury received 16 years. Jund Dar was sentenced to 16.5 years, while others involved, including Ausu and Sutherland, were given up to 20 years behind bars. Couriers caught up in the network faced between 6 and 9 years. The National Crime Agency made it clear that insider involvement is the single most critical factor that allows smuggling rings like this to thrive. Without corrupt staff inside the airport, such operations collapse. But here's the troubling reality. These arrests likely exposed only the tip of the iceberg. Heathrow is massive, with thousands of employees and multiple layers of security. How many other corrupt staff members are still hidden within the system, silently enabling illegal operations? The risk is far from over. So next time you collect your suitcase from the carousel, remember, the airport's trusted staff, the very people meant to protect you, and the security of the skies can sometimes be the ones breaking the law. They smuggle drugs using their insider access, turning Heathrow and potentially other airports into hubs for international drug trafficking. This is a deeply disturbing example of how corruption at the heart of the system can weaponize airport clearance, turning it into a tool for crime rather than security.